You're watching The Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
This is a special episode of Space Cadets. This is the vacation episode. This is Jena, and it's me, Shanice. And we're doing Space Cadets a little bit different today. So one of us is going on vacation, but we still want to do a very fun episode. Yeah. Right
there. My hair looks like it's already taking its own vacation. It's already ready. It's like, no, we're done. We're not going to look pretty anymore. It's vacation. It's like, okay, like technically vacation starts tomorrow. Chill, hair. Chill. And so since we have alternate vacation Jena, I figured it'd be really fun to talk about like alternate timelines and alternate universes, kind of like our own version of the multiverse, because Doctor Strange came out a couple weeks back. At least for us, it did. We've seen it, but I don't think we want to spoil it just yet for maybe the handful of people that haven't been out there. But there are lots of other like comics and movies and books that have multiverse verses to them. And Shanice, do you want me to go first? You want to go first?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. So I have a big one, and like people, like my own husband is like, now wait a minute, that's not a thing. I'm like, yes it is. And my thing is Back to the Future. So most people have seen all three of them. If not, Shanice, I think you said you've only seen the first one. So this is going to have a lot of spoilers for Back to the Future for you. Okay. And then you're just going to be like, Jena, you're so weird. I need to go watch all three of them. And I'm like, guess what? I have the super duper Blu-ray collection steelbook of all three of them. Let's do it. So with Back to the Future, there is literally a whole comic book side of it that's a completely different storyline than the base storyline of the three. Because so it starts, you got Marty and you've got Doc, right? But you notice little things from when he comes back at the end of the first one, like instead of 2 pines, it's just pine. So that right there is already creating a whole nother like universe. Like for every decision you get that like it trees out. So that way there's like all these different like multiverses and there's all these different, timelines. In the second one, when Marty comes back from the future, he found out in the future that the reason he's in all this trouble that he is in the future is because he raced a Rolls Royce and ended up crashing and like losing everything because of that. So seeing his future and seeing that timeline, he comes back and at the end of that one, he doesn't do the race. So the timeline is now completely different, which means that's a whole nother like universe. That's a whole new universe where he's bettered his life because he didn't race that Rolls Royce. He didn't crash into the Rolls Royce by, racing the other guys. I can't remember what they were driving. And then in the third one, they're in the old Wild Wild West. And you see that already has a base timeline where Doc is dead because he died in the Wild West. They've already created a whole new timeline by saving Doc in the past with the train and getting his wife. And then, Doc being in the past and saving the teacher. What was her name? Clara. I think it was Clara or something like that. That ravine is no longer called that ravine. So technically, Marty isn't just traveling through timelines. He's traveling multiverses that he just happens to be a part of. And that just makes me like crazy. That's crazy. So, Shanice, in the first one that you did see, did you see any of that? Like, how did you feel about that?
To be honest, it's been a couple of years since I watched it. It was basically I just wanted to watch it because everyone's like, oh, you gotta watch it at least once. So I am definitely overdue for a rewatch of it to kind of see the things that you pointed out.
Yeah.
Because I like things like that where it's like it's not like a big obvious difference, like, oh, everyone has like red hair now. But it's like, oh, it said, like you said, like 2 pines, so it says pine. So it's like, oh.
Yeah. It's literally like so I've watched it at least 100 times in my lifetime, and every single time I've watched it, I have caught something new, and I'm like, oh snap! Like, so okay, in the second one, this is kind of a big spoiler. They actually have to go to the future to save Marty's kids, which, by the way, his son and his daughter are played by the same actor, and that, like, I didn't catch that the daughter was played by the same actor until like I was a teenager, like I was a little bit older. And I was like, wait a minute, that's the actor. That's the same actor. Oh my gosh. Well, his son's about to do some bad things. So Doc picks up Marty and is like, hey, we need to go to the future. It's about your kids. We got to help them. And so they do. But Biff is old. Like, he's super old. And he sees the time machine, and he picks up oh God, what was that book called? It's got like all of the history of sports and who won by how much and like the spread. What is that book called? I can't remember now, but it's like a magazine, and it's considered a classic magazine because it's like all the sports winnings from the 80s to the 90s, or the 50s through the 90s, or something like that. And he takes that and he goes all the way back to the 50s Biff, who just got his butt beat in the parking lot, hands it to him and says, do these bets. And then it creates a whole new timeline where Marty's dad died, and then she married Biff for a while. He opened a casino, and the whole place is just like apocalyptic almost looking. It's terrible. And because that timeline, that universe's Marty was already sent to his school in Switzerland or something. And so he's like, Biff's like, oh, what are you doing back, man? Why are you here? I'm going to send you back. And he's like, wait a minute, what's happening here? And then like he wakes up to his mom with these giant implants, and he's like, Mom, what happened to you? She's like, what are you talking about, Marty? This is what I look like. And you're just like, what universe are we in right now? This is crazy. And so like his dad is dead. Crime has taken over the city. And Biff owns everything because he built this giant casino, all because of that almanac. Is that the word? I can't remember. When you watch it, you'll be like, there's the thing she was talking about. And so that's all in the second. Yes, almanac. Our producer just told me. Yes, I remembered. And then, he comes back. He has to fix it by taking the magazine away from Biff in the 50s and dumping manure on him again. So it's like, now that's created a whole nother timeline that has like bettered the McFly family even further from what the events happened in the first movie, and then the second movie, and then the third movie where they go back in time to the Wild West, and you're like, yo, the Doc's dead. Like, we found his grave. They found his grave because he had to go back to the 50s again, or he was stuck in the 50s. He was stuck in the 50s because, lightning, machines, flux capacitor, those things. So he has to go back to the 50s, find 50s Doc a second time, and then the Doc be like, I just sent you back. And he's like, well, I'm back again. And you're just like, oh my gosh, these timelines are getting all kinds of mixed up. How many universes are we going to destroy? I love it. So yeah, that's my explanation of the multiverses of Back to the Future. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. And now everybody's going to be like, okay, I don't know if I should watch this. Like, go watch it and then come back. All right. So Shanice, what's your favorite, like either comics or movie, like multiverse and different timelines thing?
So my recent favorite one, actually is not Doctor Strange, but it's a movie called Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, I want to see that so bad.
It's incredible, like just seeing the budget that the directors, the Daniels had, and finding out that I think it was less than they had a team of less than 10 people who worked on the special effects, and it's insane to think about. It's like, whoa, this looks better than like a majority of like big budget, sci-fi films. But yeah, it's really cool. I don't want to spoil it too much about it because Jenna needs to watch it, and Bean she'll eventually watch it. But it's definitely one of those movies that you have to go into it completely blind. It's 100% worth the hype. Hopefully, by the time this episode airs on our channels, I can talk about it with Jenna, Bean, and our producer because holy cow, it's great. My favorite, now one thing I will spoil, like kind of my favorite universe that was featured in this is where everybody had like these hot dog hands. Yeah.
Like hands or fingers?
Sorry, fingers. Hot dog fingers.
Oh.
Just like, it shoots out ketchup and mustard.
What?
Like, it sounds funny, but like it's actually like legit horror. It's like just like.
Is that where Condiments Man comes from?
Huh?
Is that where Condiment Man came from?
Came from Multiverse. But yeah, it's fantastic. Like I can't stress how beautiful this movie is because it's like you can hear people like just sobbing at certain parts. It's great. I think right now it's my favorite multiverse movie.
What's the base storyline?
So it's about Evelyn, played by Michelle Yeoh. So she has to deal with a couple things. It's tax season. So she runs a business. So of course that's like stressful for every like business owner. She has to deal with her relationship with her husband, which isn't going too well. Has to deal with her relationship with her daughter, which again isn't going too well. And her dad is also coming into town from China, so she has to deal with all that.
Oh my gosh.
So
during tax season?
Huh?
During tax season?
During tax season. That's how long. And it's like the last day to file taxes too. So I was like, oh great. So so while they're at the IRS building, we talk about their taxes, another version of her husband is like comes up to her, it's like, hey, so we gotta talk. You gotta help us stop this evil force. Because you're the only Evelyn that can do it. And she's like, get away from me, psycho. So that's
that tracks.
They do something really cool with the multiverses, and I really don't want to spoil it. It's one of those things like when you watch, it's like, oh, that's really smart. But yeah, it's just Evelyn's just having a terrible time during tax season. That's the most simplistic way I can explain this movie.
Oh my god. Why can't family's supposed to bother us during holiday seasons. So how's about you leave us alone during tax season? Come see us during the summer. Leave us alone during tax season. Yeah. That's the name of this episode. Leave us alone during tax season.
Oh yeah, leave us alone during tax season. Although if you have
hot dog fingers,
you are in serious trouble. That's the name of our episode. Oh. Actually, just don't even watch our episode. Go file your taxes while you still can. That's what she.
Oh my gosh, I can't even.
Is it the hot dog fingers?
Yes.
All that.
Yes, that's all I can think about. And then if you see in the producer put in the comments,
yes,
we're gonna see it tonight. So I'm super excited. I'm gonna be like, hot dog fingers. I'm just gonna text you in the middle of the movie, just like hot dogs, the fingers, ketchup. Why? Oh God, why hot dogs? I can't. Okay, I'm good. I'm okay. I'm good. Oh, you know what? So we sat down and watched one of my favorite Disney movies that feels like it could happen sort of like in our future or maybe like in an alternate universe it's happening. So we watched Treasure Planet. Shanice, did you ever get to watch that?
I've never watched Treasure Planet.
I would highly recommend seeing this movie. It came out in 2002. and it cost $140 million to make this movie. It is to date one of the most expensive animated movies made of all times, and it was considered a bust because worldwide it only made $110 million. But the only reason this movie got made was because the like writers and directors and stuff like that put it into their contract. They put it into their contract because they'd been trying to make this film since 1989. 1989 is when they pitched this movie. They pitched this movie the same time they pitched Little Mermaid. And Disney was like, yo, Little Mermaid, we down for that. But maybe not about this other alien thing. And then they finally got it put in their contract that when they finished Hercules, they would be allowed to make this movie. And it took them 4.5 years to make this movie. And the reason it was so expensive and the reason it took so long is because, so that was the early days of CGI. And what they did was they did CGI as all of the backgrounds. They did flat CGI for 1 or 2 of the characters that were like machines. And then they did full 2D drawn animation on top of that. And it is one of the most visually pleasing movies I've ever seen in my life. And it kind of has that same animation that you saw in like Atlantis and Tarzan and Prince of Egypt and like those, like that era of movies, that type of animation on top of this beautifully rendered like CGI on top of it. And then the soundtrack is like, it didn't need to go that hard. I'm just saying it didn't need to go that hard. It's not a musical. There's only really one song in there that's like a song, but it's not like everybody singing it. It's a song where you get to see. So Treasure Planet is based off of the book Treasure Island. And it actually kind of follows pretty closely, except for they aged up Jem. He's not a kid. He's like I think he was supposed to be like 15, 16 in the movie. And like instead of it being a peg leg cook, he's part cyborg. And then like Treasure Planet, they literally have to hunt down a planet. And it's really cool to see them going through the universe, and you get to see a black hole forming, and they're on a ship, and you get to see all these different like animated like alien type creatures. There's this one that literally made Jay like jump for a minute because he looks like a scorpion and a spider put together. And then there's this one that like both the guys were laughing so hard because he only speaks flatulence. So yeah, and it's on Disney Plus. I highly recommend everybody watch it because it's one of the most underrated, forgotten, and nobody has seen Disney movies out there to date. I rank it up there right with Atlantis. It's one of the best ones out there. Is there any forgotten movies that you want to mention that everybody should watch?
The moment you said forgotten movies, the first movie that popped into my head was Mystery Men.
Yes, I love that movie.
It's like whenever like I talk about like, hey, what are your favorite like superhero movies that aren't from like the big two? At least I don't think that was based off of an established comic. But yeah, I remember watching it quite a bit when I was a kid. It's like I am overdue for a rewatch of it because I remember like talking to someone about it. It's like, yeah, the movie's a lot smarter than people gave it like credit for, but it just came out at the wrong time. And yeah, the movie's really good. And if I could cheat and add another one, this is a movie that me and Jena both love. We play the soundtrack at the store all the time. with Pussycats. That is one of the best comic movies ever made, and I'm glad that it has the following that it has, like the what's the word, cult following that that it has, because that movie is it
was ahead of its time.
Movie. Yeah, it's like people do not give that movie like the credit that it deserves, because it is like just this biting satirical movie just based off of like the music industry, which is sadly still very relevant.
Yes.
And it also features a song called Backdoor Lovers. So
Backdoor Lover. Oh my God. That's the one song we have to skip when we listen to it at the store.
Yeah, so
we're like, oh, that's not friendly with the families. So hold on.
So usually, if one of us is playing the soundtrack, you'll see the moment we hear the song, one of us will run to the computer, like hit the next button.
Yeah.
Back to the other song.
But oh my gosh. And that was one of those movies that literally was making fun of itself.
Right.
Like at the end of it, it was like, so we found out subliminal messages in music isn't very good, but in movies, it's so great. Join the army. And you're just like, okay. And then Mystery Men. I loved Mystery Men because they're the one dude that's only invisible when nobody sees him.
Yeah.
Like I can't remember who the actor is. I just kept laughing. They were like, okay, well, everybody turn around and don't look at him. Where'd your clothes go? Okay, I'm good. I'm sorry. That scene kills me so much every time. I love it so much. And then, by the way, Josie and the Pussycats, the fashion and the soundtrack did not need to go that hard for that type of movie. Like, the both of us, we still can probably quote and like we know every word to all the songs. All of them. Like, they were kind of like this pop punk band is what they made them. And then the fashion. What? Oh gosh, like it was like platform heel shoes, but also like platform like tennis shoes, and then like orange was the new pink. And anybody who's a little bit older will watch this movie and feel your age, because like there's a whole beginning part of the scene, like beginning part in the movie, where it's literally set in a Virgin Records store with people going through CDs and records, and you're just like, I feel that. I remember those days. Yeah. Because I don't think that's around anymore, is it?
I feel like it's one of those things, because if you live in a major city, like we kind of do, you'd be lucky to have like a record store, a CD store. But like the big chain ones, I think when I lived in Europe, there was a big one that I think it still exists, HMV, and actually I think there's a Virgin music store in London, but I think they changed it to HMV. But anyways, like stateside, yeah, unfortunately they don't exist anymore, except for is FYE still a thing?
I think it's so FYE, I think is mixed in with Books a Million. So you can find their stuff at like Second and Charles and like the random Hastings type stores.
Yeah.
But it's no longer like just CDs and music related stuff. Now it's like just nerd culture stuff. Because if you go into Barnes and Nobles, they got rid of all of their CDs and records and movies. Yeah, the whole downstairs is now collectibles and upstairs is books. Because everything's download now. So, I mean, it works out, kind of, I think.
Yeah. Now we're both really sad.
Yeah, I've brought us to a sad point. Darn it. Oh, goodness. Okay, we're okay.
Oh, shoot.
We're okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just saying, we're okay. What up?
I was going to say, like, when I watched Josie and the Pussycats, I was like, man, when I'm a teenager, I'm going to go to all these cool, I'm going to go to, like, the big music store, the platform booth, shoes, and all that. But, of course, by the time I hit high school, downloading music was very much a thing. Streaming music was very much a thing. So it's like, oh, well.
LimeWire.
Listen on that.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, gosh.
But do you have another, like, movie that you're like, man, people really sleep on it, and it's great?
I'm sorry. I'm still thinking, because I did go to the Virgin store when it was in New York City in Times Square. I was there. I still have the bag somewhere that I bought, because I bought my CDs there.
Yeah.
But there are so many movies that people just like sleep on. And I wish I knew why. Because like I said, when I was watching Treasure Planet, I was like, this was so good. It literally got nominated for Best Animated Picture of the Year. Critics loved it. The audience members that did see it loved it. But like, nobody saw it. Why? What were you doing in 2002? What were you doing in 2002? I wasn't doing anything like sneaking into movie theaters and spending all day watching movies and stuff. No. That was not me. Oh, here's another one that everybody is sleeping on. It's actually on Amazon Prime, and I can't believe I watched it. Or Velocipaster. It's a pastor who's an orphan, and he goes to China to preach the word of God, and he turns into a raptor at night, and he eats people. That's all I'm gonna say about it. Oh, and there's nudity.
Well, I can't watch now. Can't watch it.
It's not like full frontal nudity, but you see a little bit of butt. You're like, wait a minute, what is happening here? Why? So, why? But so yeah, so I had seen the trailer for this was next to another movie that was called Llamageddon. So it's a llama from outer space that shoots lasers out of its eyes, and if it bites you, you also turn into an alien llama that shoots lasers out of its eyes. Anywho, so both these I think were college films. They're up on Amazon Prime. They're free on Amazon Prime, and I hate to say this, but I kind of enjoyed them. This was just like I was home alone. It was the middle of the night. I didn't know what to watch, and I'd watched the trailers for both of these a couple of times just for like jokes, right? I was like, you know what? Whatever. I'll put it on and fall asleep. I didn't fall asleep. I watched the whole thing, and I'm not even I'm not big mad. I'm just a little mad that everybody is sleeping on both these films. Please go watch them, Shanice. When I come back from vacation in a week, I want to hear that you were like, yeah, so llamas with lasers coming out of their freaking eyes, eh?
My life has forever changed. Oh, snap. Okay, so our producer, he put a movie, and I want to add another movie to that, The Rocketeer. That movie does slap so hard. I remember, I think they were talking about doing like a sequel or like a spiritual successor to it, and I don't know if they just kind of stopped production on it, but yeah, The Rocketeer is great. I'm already for rewatch that. Thank you, Mr. Mysterious Producer, whose name I don't know what to say. Can we say something?
He is there in the side comments for us to A, remember words, and B, remember movies that even we were forgetting. I forgot about that movie, to be honest, and I'm mad at myself now. Like, that's a good movie. How did I forget that movie? Sad face.
There was another one that was really good that it's like it came out at the wrong time, I feel like, because if it came out nowadays, I think it would have like blown up. But Sky Captain in the world of Tomorrow.
Yes.
It's a crazy looking movie, and it's like, man, this is great. I hope the director did other stuff, because I know that it didn't do too well, but it's like, man, this guy's really good. I hope someone snatches him up. Oh, that was his first and last big budget movie. Well, that sucks, because
Yeah.
it was so fun.
Yeah.
I watch that movie if you're watching this.
Okay. I have another one. So this was a Hugh Jackman, kind of like before this director became big. It was Van Helsing. Do you see that movie?
So I've never watched it, but I know a lot of my friends are fans of it.
Oh my gosh. So I've tried to talk to people about this, and there's only one other person I know that has seen this. No, two other people that I know that have actually seen this movie. And I can honestly say the CGI was terrible in this movie. But the storyline, the acting, the costumes, all of it was solid. And what was funny was this was a low budget movie too. Because there's a whole gag scene, like a blooper scene at the end of it, where they drop something and he's like, you know what? In my next movie is gonna be big budget. We're not gonna have accidents like that. Brah. And it's just, oh, I can't remember the name of the director. I'm so sad. But yeah, so it had a whole like Kate Beckinsale was in it, Hugh Jackman was in it. I can't remember the name of the monk, but he's in a lot of other movies. He was in some of the Lord of the Rings movies. So it had like a lot of like big names in it, and I'm just like, I'm sad that I wish that would have blown up more, because I feel like that would have been really cool to see as like the Sony or Universal like horror scary movies like they did with the remake of The Mummy, where they were trying to make that universe happen.
Oh,
And
God.
Yeah. So now I need to go find this gag reel and I need to send it to you. So guys, we will be right back after a short break. See you in a minute. Bye. Okay.
Thanks for tuning into The Experience. Help us out and hit subscribe over on YouTube and click the bell when you do. Need some help? Scan the QR code in the bottom corner. Join the party. Head over to our Linktree to find all the links for everywhere The Experience is all the time. Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
Hey everybody, welcome back. So yeah, I sent that blooper reel to Shanice. She'll have to watch it later. She's gonna love it. I'm super excited. So the next thing that I want to talk to you about is shows. Like, we did movies, but what kind of like TV shows did, and everybody knows mine. I feel like I've talked about this probably to everybody to extensive amounts. But what about you? What's like your biggest like show that you absolutely loved, but like nobody else like saw it?
Okay, so there's a show. It was on Cinemax. It was called Corey. So it's this neo-noir that takes place in the 1970s, early 1970s, late 1960s, basically towards the tail end of the Vietnam War. The main character, Corey, he's a soldier coming back home. Something happened involving him and his group in Vietnam, and it's big enough to the point that, outside of the normal reaction that, Vietnam vets got at the time, they got like, the moment people saw who they were, it was like, hey, we need to get security and get you like to your cars. Like, it is bad. You don't find out what it is until the final episode. So this show, so it follows him. He's trying to get back into the groove of things, but the job that he had planned before he left, that falls through, and money's getting tight. His wife is distant for some reason, so he's like stressed out. His friend, who is also overseas with him, he's like, hey man, there's a job coming up. This guy wants us to basically deliver cash to another dude. All we have to do is just be security, the enforcer. You go to the other building because he's a good sniper rifle. He's good with a rifle, while I go in and do the deal. So of course, the plan goes wrong. Money goes missing, and something happens to his best friend now. So Corey is like, now he's like in it because he's like, well, I don't know what happened. Just things just went sideways. Yeah. So now he has to pay off his debt to like this like mob boss, and by basically being his bodyguard of sorts, and basically just doing these like odd jobs for him.
Oh my gosh.
The show is like it. So one thing to know about me, like any show that takes place in the South, I will love it. Like it's so good. It takes place in the early 70s, late 60s. The soundtrack is fantastic, and I really wish the show had aired on Netflix, if HBO Max had existed back then, or some other channel or streaming service, because this show was like Emmy worthy. Like, it would have racked up so many awards had it not been on Cinemax, playing on a night where people don't watch TV because they're hanging out with their friends. Like, I am obsessed with that show, and you can't even find it on any streaming service, which sucks, but it's so good.
Oh my gosh. So did it wrap up in one season, or did it leave with a cliffhanger?
So that's what's frustrating. So it doesn't end on a on a cliffhanger of sorts because the main plot line is wrapped up, but it also opens up to other storylines that they could have explored in a possible second season. And it's just, the show was so good. Like, it stars, to quote our producer, the Wish version of Tom Hardy, Logan Marshall, who is a fantastic actor in his own right. But it's like, why couldn't HBO have saved this show? Because it had like fantastic, reviews, but no one watched it because no one could really watch the show. So they said that show up to fail. Like, in my
They did it dirty.
Yeah. Cinemax had a lot of good shows too, like in hindsight.
Yeah, they did.
Back to it, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So did HBO Kids. That had some really good shows too. But like these were just like hidden channels pretty much that only a handful of people had access to. All right, so I guess I need to talk about mine.
Yeah.
So this show was out in the mid to late 2000s. It was one season, and it wasn't even a whole season. It was a half a season. And it was 13 episodes, and the 13th episode never aired. You actually had to go find it on early days of YouTube, and you had to watch it in 3 parts, as the early days of YouTube were. And it had a pretty big name cast as well. Like, this was Peter Dinklage before he was pretty big, was in it. This show was called Threshold. This was the only alien TV show I could get my grandparents to watch with me. This show was so good that me, as an 18, 19, I think it was 18 at the time that it came out, or 19 when it came out, and my grandparents, in their 60s, we sat down and we watched it every single week. Threshold. I loved this show. So the base of it was set up was, so I'm gonna have to spoil it. I'm sorry. There is a woman who deals with the most outrageous of like contingency plans. And she actually like talks about, and that is an actual job. There is somebody in the government who does actually write contingency plans for the most outrageous things that can happen. Like there's literally a whole library of that. She's in the middle of a lecture when it opens up, and then, she goes home. You see she's home alone. She has prepped meals. She has her bulldog that's adorable because she never wants to potty unless the helicopter is going. Anyways, that's later. And so the helicopter, she's trying to walk him, and she's like, come on, go potty. And then the helicopter comes down, and then he goes potty on the helicopter because that's the only place he likes to potty, apparently. And they're like, hey, one of your contingency plans is active. She's like, which one? Flash scene, Threshold. And then we get to this marine ship that's out in the middle, like a fisherman ship, that's out in the middle of nowhere. Like they're fishing and, studying the fish or something. And then all of a sudden this ball comes to Earth and just lands right there, just above the water. And it's going in and out of itself. And the way they explain it later on is this was 4th dimensional alien spaceship. And the way they communicated was they put out this sound. And everybody on the ship either physically mutated or mentally mutated to the point where it was like they were seeing glass forests in their sleep. And it was drawing them to find a recording or find a way to replicate the sound so everybody in the world could hear it. So everybody could mutate either physically or like internally. And somehow there was people with flip phones recording it. And somebody had actually called their house, their family, because they're like, yeah, I think we're about to die because something just landed here. And then in the background of that recording is the sound that the ship was making. And she has to come up with all of these scientists, right? To hunt down, like, even the rats and the cockroaches even mutated. That's how like crazy this was. And it got to the point where you found out some rats had escaped from it they went on there, they got the evidence. This is all in the first episode, by the way. So they went on there, they got the evidence, they got a couple of rats, that had mutated and died, and they also got a couple of cockroaches, and they got, there was 1 or 2 people that were still alive that they didn't know had mutated internally. They'd only seen the external ones. And then they blew up the ship. Yeah, they blew up the ship, and it's at the bottom of the ocean. That comes out important much later. And so they take these handful of people back, and she's like, well, we need to round up some scientists. And they do. One of them was Peter Dinklage, who was a doctorate in math and linguistics, because everybody knows that's what I studied. Yep. It was because of this movie that I actually got my degrees in what I did, because of this TV show. TV show. Because math can be broken down. And the way he was able to help them figure out if somebody had mutated or not was if they had their little like slangs and accents. Like there was this one like airplane, because apparently at the time all this was happening down below with the ship, there was a commercial airplane going over it too, which they had to find all those people later. Yeah, this was an insane show. Everything I just explained was just in the first episode. And they were 30-minute episodes. And there was 13 of them. And you can't find it anywhere. It's not on any streaming service. You can't even like go to Amazon to try and buy it. It's just like disappeared. And it breaks my heart because this was so good. It literally captivated all ages, because even my little sister, who was only like 11 or 12 at the time, loved watching it. But they put it on the same time as I think it was CSI, when CSI was at its height.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah, and it does suck too. Like you have these shows that you just absolutely love, and you're like, oh, but you've got to check the show out. It's fantastic. Yeah. The acting, the writing, the whole shebang bang. But when these shows air, even shows that air now, they either have some legal nonsense that keeps them from being released on onto Blu-ray, DVD, onto streaming service.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yes.
Oh no.
My Name is Earl was a good show. I love that show too. And I know that the showrunner, he had another show called Raising Hope. And the coolest thing I have ever seen a TV show do, because in the pilot episode of Raising Hope, so for context, for My Name is Earl ends on I don't know if the producer will agree with me on this, but or Jena, but it ended on a pretty big cliffhanger.
Yes, it did.
He never got to finish out his list. So Raising Hope, again by the same showrunner, he in a pilot episode, it's like, yes. So in today's news, local man has finally completed his list of dates to finish out, and here's the full story. And it comes to TV. It's like,
no. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Oh my god. But yeah, Threshold ended on a major cliffhanger too, because so this is what the last episode was. They go down to the ship to see what's going on because things are coming out, right? And it's a giant glass forest. The one that they're all dreaming about. And the aliens give you a message of hope. So can we like stop with the cliffhangers for shows that are canceled? Like wrap it up in a comic or a movie. Wrap it up. But yeah, so yeah.
No, I did read somewhere, I don't know how true it is, that showrunners, they tend to do that as like this like game of chicken of sorts with the executive producers of like, hey, you cancel a show, you don't get closure. And then they're like, okay. It's like, wait, no.
But I will die on this hill of if I can ever track down, like if I ever meet any of the cast of this show or the showrunners or anybody, I will not kidnap them to find out the rest of it. I will not do that.
And on that note of kidnapping, let's talk about book of the week.
Pick of the week. Yeah. Yes, so the last time that we did pick of the week, it was Shanice's pick, and I got to borrow hers. But this was so good. The Fantastic Four by qu'est-ce que c'est? Hickman. That's right. I see now. This was so good. I'm so glad I got to read it. Like I can't believe I didn't get the chance to read it before. Council of Reads is all I've got to say on that.
It's also weirdly on topic for the multiverse thing.
So many universes together.
Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping to see a certain group of characters in the MCU.
If they don't show up, I will riot with you.
Riot.
And so will the producer. I'll drag him along. Like, all right, let's go. We have to riot. But I thought it was so strange that so were there 3 Infinity Gauntlets? And they're like, oh, it only works in your own universe, right? But then one got used? So were they in that one's universe? Hey, come back here. Now, wait a minute. Hey.
I think
but yeah, so I thought that was weird.
I need to loan out the rest of the volumes because it gets even...
Oh, no. But I just thought, like, the way some of them died was like... Oh, by the way, big spoilers. The way some of them died was just like, oh, snap. Crackle and pop. Because that's how they died. It's snap. Pop. Yeah. Anywho. Yeah, he opened a portal that was his chest, and he's like, this will kill me. And I'm like, why would you tell anybody you have a portal in your chest if somebody using it would kill you? And what's it a portal to? Like, you can just pick what portal it's to?
So I'm noticing a trend of this character just blabbing out like like important things that they shouldn't talk about. It's like, oh, And yes, we're trying to stay vague about a book that came out 10 plus years ago, but it really is one of those books, like if you haven't read it yet, go into it completely blind. Don't read any spoilers about Hickman's Fantastic Four run, because it's my all-time favorite Fantastic Four series.
I can't. That's too tiny. The world's greatest comic magazine, Fantastic Four. Unified Field Theory, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby.
I feel like this
was really good.
Huh?
It was so good. I deeply enjoyed it. It did raise like some concerns for me with the whole at one point where they're telling him like the read of this universe is like, oh, I need to think about my family. But then another read from another universe is like, you're going to leave your family. And I'm like, bro, that's hard. And he's like, it always comes down to every single one of us have left ours. And I'm like, so you're telling me right now, there's like 150 like Reed families out there without Reed Rich, like rude.
Right. And that's the thing too. Like, I know the general consensus of Reed is like, he is very much his last name without the S, but our nickname for his last name without the S. But like he obviously cares for his family so much that when these other Reeds were talking to him about it, it's like, no, I love my family. What's wrong with you people? Like I don't however in knowledge, it means nothing if my loved ones aren't here with me.
Yeah. But like, for some reason, each and every one of them just bounced on their families. I don't know if this one will, though. Like, okay, so you probably know. I don't know. I don't know if this one's going to bounce on his family since he did straight up just like tear it down, tear it all down. But at the same time, that big war is going on with all the other Reeds. You know, I don't know what to expect. But it was so good. Oh,
I'm really glad you liked it. figured it would be appropriate for our topic, so it worked out.
So I guess it's gonna be it's my pick of the week. We'll have to loop back around to other person. So you remember when you read Oxymoron, right?
Yes.
So that was by a company called Comics Tribe. I have another one called Chum.
Oh.
Can you see it? So yeah. So I will just read the back because I don't know how to not spoil this one. It's that good.
Oh.
A surf noir story about how many people you have to kill in order to start a fresh new life. Chum is a beach crime story about the lies we surround ourselves with and the people they inevitably break. A bag full of drugs and money turns the world upside down for a group of interconnected inhabitants of Kingsford Island, who all end up in the wake of Summer Stanwyck's plan to start a new life. A plan she is making up as she goes along, and anyone who gets in her way is going to be chum in the water.
The moment you said surf noir.
And yes, there will be sharks.
So in a surf noir.
It's one trade, and it's not a very big trade. It's a pretty thin trade, but this was a company, comics with an X. Like, I don't know if I can can you see that?
Yeah, yes. I can see it.
Comics Tribe. And what's so cool is the head guy for Comics Tribe, he loves to do all sorts of like workshops and stuff online, and they're either free or pretty cheap. So anybody who's ever like interested in getting into comics, or they're like indie making their own comics, he tells you the best ways to do it through Kickstarter or through like doing it yourself, because almost everything that this company's done, was on Kickstarter. And this is like, hold on, I'm trying to find you a not spoily good part of art. Nope, that's no, I can't show that on screen. Nope, that's no. Okay. Aha! Wait. Yeah, they're all fully clothed in this part. So like the art is like, hold on, there it is.
Ooh.
It's very reminiscent of reminiscent. Thank you. Of sort of like almost like The Walking Dead, but with more murder and less clothes. Yeah, that is the best way to describe this book, and I can't wait for you to read it. It's so good. But like I said, like you see her, here's all the money, a little bit of drugs, 2 sharks, surfboard. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be so good. I can't wait. Like, oh, it's so good. Everything that this company has done is completely out there with you know, just like you don't see this very often. It's completely new storylines that you've either not seen in movies or not seen in comics, or just like when you read Oxymoron, how often do you see that kind of thing? You don't. Right. Chum is the same way. They do take their own like things and twist them. Like the Red 10 is kind of like a darker Justice League, like even darker than Justice League Dark and whatnot. But then they also have like completely new, I have no idea how they thought of this stories like this one. I wish that I would have thought of this, and I'm pretty sure that some criminal out in the world has thought of this, but I didn't. I would have never thought of using sharks to get rid of, evidence of bodies. Yes, you can. So the producer is just reminding me, you can order most of their stuff off of their website. I think it's just like comicstribe.com. I'm not sure. He'll put it somewhere for everybody to see. And you can order things like the Red 10 and Oxymoron and other stuff like that from their website. Because I think when they do the Kickstarters, they usually like try and make a few extra. So people who did miss it can still get it.
Right.
They'll get all them extras. Like shark stickers. Shark bait. Ooh ha ha. So I'm super excited to go camping. This was kind of a little bit of a not as chaosy, but still pretty chaos episode today, guys.
Very easy, breezy.
That is not a slogan.
Vacation one.
So yeah, so
oh, thank you to our producer.
Yeah, there it is. I knew if I gave him enough time, it would show up somewhere. It's down below. Make sure to hit that. Where is it? It's a first try. So yeah, hopefully next week it might just be us again. It might be vacation Jena again. It might be on location Jena. Who knows? I might be out in the middle of the woods talking to you guys next time. Because that's what I do. I leave for 7 or 8 days out into the middle of the woods and nobody can find me but me.
And sharks.
Yeah.
Land sharks.
Oh my God. That makes me think of another movie that I just watched. And I just we're not talking about Sharknado, right? Like, let's not. There's 8 of those movies now, aren't there?
I think 4.
Oh my gosh. Why is there more? Why is there even 1? I'm good. I'm okay. Those movies drive me a little crazy for some reason. I don't know what it is. They kind of remind me of what was that? What was that spider movie? Giant spiders everywhere.
8-legged freaks?
Maybe. It was either 8-legged freaks or it's gone. It's just gone out of my head. It was a Japanese movie. They had actual land sharks in it. The sharks grew legs and were on land. And it was actually a Korean movie. I'm so sorry. I will correct myself. It was a Korean movie, and there were sharks on land, and then there was flying spiders, and it was the most chaotic thing I've ever seen, and that's coming from me. Maybe we never have land sharks. I might just cry.
The image of that, the mental image of that is horrifying.
Yeah, it is.
I didn't think I need to think about that. So thank you so much, Jena.
You're very welcome. Before I leave in the morning, I'll send you pictures. I'm going to spend the night looking for it, and I'm going to send you pictures. The host, maybe. I can't remember it for the life of me, but these sharks literally had dog legs attached to full-grown sharks. Oh, why can't I remember it? There's literally, it was a Chinese monster movie called Land Shark from 2020. Oh, no. Yes, kind of. This one has 5 heads. That's not it.
I don't even know what to say right now because I'm looking at the one for the Chinese film, and that's
yes. Jay found it. Now there is this adorable little cartoon shark that's a little land shark that's out there that I do love him. He's adorable. But this other thing the thing that Jay showed you, that is...
Yeah, from the host.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is the stuff of nightmares. And I'm pretty sure he'll post it up here for you guys all to see somewhere. Yeah.
And I think I'm gonna call it.
Yeah.
With the mental image of land sharks coming after me. So thank you, Jena. So on that note, guys, we are going to end today's episode of Space Cadets. Y'all have a beautiful afternoon and a beautiful weekend. We will see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.